Okay. Good evening, everybody. It is, what is the date? Today is the October 15th, and this is the October Zoning and Development Committee meeting of ANC 5D. My name is Kevin Horgan. I'm the co-chair of the committee, and I'll let the other panelists introduce themselves.
My name's Andrew Graham, and I'm one of the committee members. I live over Staples and Morse in the ANC.
Marshall Morrison. I'm also a member of the zoning committee. I'm over off Queen and Holbrook Terrace.
Commissioner Keisha Shropshire, co-chair. I've been absent for a while, but I'm here now.
Okay. And we have one attendee who I believe has access to talk if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Antonio M. Jones.
Great.
Trinidad Avenue, Northeast.
Okay. So this evening, there are two items on the agenda. The first is a proposed project which is requiring zoning relief. It is BZA case, bring it up here, BZA case 20282, proposed development at 1638 Trinidad Ave Northeast. And what I'm going to do here, if I can not screw this up, is do a screen share of kind of a summary report that we had written up. The applicant, the BZA applicant, did come before the zoning committee back in June and presented their project to us. And let me just see if I can do a screen share. Oh, it says host disabled attendee screen sharing. All right.
Okay, I could probably turn that on.
Oh, wait, you're the host. No, I forgot. I did transfer host power to you, Andrew.
What is that?
Oh, that is bizarre. I can hear it live, and then I can hear it echo.
Fireworks.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Fireworks. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, fireworks. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Andrew, it's still not allowing me to do a screen share. Yeah, apologies, everybody. This is our, in the past, we were using Cisco WebEx, but tonight is the first meeting that we, ANC 5D has a Zoom account, a subscription that allows them to host meetings with 100 attendees. It also allows them to record meetings. And so this meeting is recorded so that, just to give accountability, we always want neighbors to know, even if they can't attend a particular meeting, the ANC will have like a link somewhere. So, other neighbors can view these after the fact and make sure that, we're fulfilling our duties. And so we had a dry run immediately prior to this and things went a lot smoother. We did a test screen share, but we're just trying to figure out how to do it right now. If we can't figure out in a couple of minutes, we might just want to pass on it.
Let me see. Oh, here we go.
Oh, yep, that was it. All right, I'm going to doing a screen share. You should all be seeing my screen here.
Yep.
That's it.
So this was BZA case, and these are this format here is just kind of a format I try to provide the ANC, and there's hyperlinks in here. If I click on this link here, it should automatically bring up the BZA case report for this particular project, and then when necessary, we can then drill down to full log. For neighbors who haven't seen this before, if you ever want to get to it yourself quickly, you can just quickly type BZA case search, and usually the top link is going to be zoning case search. And you can search for projects in your neighborhood. You can just type 5D and see what other projects are coming up. But this is the link for this project here. I'm going to quickly just do the full case log. And right now, the latest entry is the updated architectural plans and elevations that was uploaded just a couple days ago. Anyway, returning back to the summary, this is the summary of when the developer came to the ANC in June. The existing building is a 2-story, single family, typical for Trinidad, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And they're proposing a larger building with 3 units. The cellar becomes a 1-bedroom plus den and 2.5-bath unit. The first and half of the second floor, it becomes unit 2. That's a 3-bed, 2.5-bath. And all the third floor and the other half of the second floor becomes a 3-bedroom, 3-bath. One of the things we like to emphasize is that there are 2 family-sized units that would be achieved with this project. The developer does need, this is not a matter of right project. The developer does need 3 zoning relief from 3 subtitles in the zoning code. I've listed them here. One of them is just simply the fact that as a matter of right, you can only build 2 units. So they need some of the zoning relief to build 3. Their architectural plans do require them to remove an existing architectural rooftop element. And the third is there is an existing conforming side yard of 5 feet. What I might try to do is, actually it's in the zoning report here. If I click on this link, might be helpful so people can understand. You seeing Google Maps on my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Let me put on satellite. I think the 3D view is kind of a helpful view. And so this is the lot here. And this is the project they want to do. And there is an existing 5-foot side yard here. You can see there's windows all along the side of this house. And Mr. I forget your name, sir. Tony, what's your last name?
Jones.
Jones. So Antonio Jones, him and his mother, they are the owners of actually the lot on the, there's actually 2 separate tax lots here. And I've got a graphic that kind of best explains this in this. So if you're seeing my screen here, this is the 1638, and the 2 adjoining to the north here, these are both owned by Mr. Jones's family, but they are 2 separate tax lots. So that, in the future, Mr. Jones, if he wanted to, could build a house here. He could also just, sell it to a developer, someone else could build something. But that's, there are 2 separate tax lots here. And at this point, I'd like to, I think I summarized. Let me go through the summary here. Have a look. These are my notes from the meeting here. The adjoining property, 1644, it does not feature a house, but there's a garage. It's owned by Mr. Antonio Jones, who owns that and the next door. At the June meeting, we did ask the BZA applicant if they had requested an easement from the homeowner next door, because we did note that there are multiple bedrooms in their plans that have at-risk windows, so that if if Mr. Jones or a future owner of this lot here decided that they wanted to build and develop and they wanted to build up to the property line, that would end up covering up windows. So at the June meeting, we did ask them, and at the time they said that they were going to do that. And I think I was even Stephen Cobb at the time asked. And we also asked about the lot on this side as well. I think it was Stephen Cobb, and asked about the neighbor at 1632. And Patricia, who is one of the co-owners of this lot, replied it's owned by an LLC, lives in Maryland, and they haven't had it. Apparently, this is an old picture here. This lot here has already been converted to a 3-unit conversion. So I think that is, and just so you know, as of yesterday, there were no letters in support in the BZA case record, but there are also no letters in opposition in the BZA case record. There is an exhibit. It's comments from Antonio Jones, which if I can see if I can move this over here. I think, Mr. Jones, you had emailed the zoning committee, and so that email you sent them is in here. It is in the case record. But if you wanted to submit more, you can. This project initially was, if I can find it, they were scheduled to have their hearing on the first Wednesday of the month, was actually October 7th, but they postponed it themselves, and it was postponed out to October 28th. So 2 weeks from now, this is going to be a hearing. I do not believe, I was not at this past Tuesday's ANC meeting. Does anyone know if this project received a vote by the ANC?
So I logged in because I received a call from Mr. Jones trying to determine like what their rights were and also what they could do about some of their concerns. So I logged in and shared some of the concerns that Mr. Jones shared with me. And we ended up voting to not support this at this time and requested they postpone the hearing. And they agreed because they would like to have ANC support. So they're supposed to submit a request for postponement of the meeting. And they asked what could they do, that would be satisfactory. And I think there were two things that I recall now that were recommended, which is I think Commissioner Lee had indicated that he wanted to see a matter of right design and plan. And then the second request that I had was for them to, speak with Mr. Jones and his families to, kind of to negotiate, them being in support of it. So to talk to them about what would make them have support for it. So those were two of the requests.
Oh, perfect. I agree with that. So Mr. Jones, do you have updates for us on, have the developer, have they reached out to you? How have communications gone?
They haven't reached out to me since the meeting Tuesday, but beforehand they reached out in the beginning, let's say 6 months ago it started. They wanted to give me $5,000 for easement so that I wouldn't build anything in the drive. So I told them, well, let me see the paperwork. It was Memorial Day weekend. He popped up Friday, wanted me to sign it. He texted me all weekend, called me all weekend, pressing me to sign, and then I told him no. Then he came back again, trying to trick my mother, telling her, did you hear about the $5,000 that I offered your son? And that really upset her. Next thing you know, we put our heads together. He told me one thing about the building, told her another thing. So then we called him, and he couldn't answer us correctly. So he pops away again, come back. He said, well, I have a way to get around the easement, and I can get you some money. Well, I'll put some change in your pocket, his exact word. I said, change in my pocket. He said, yeah, we don't need the easement anymore. We're just gonna put some clear story windows in, and Brian will give you $2,500, and I'll come over here with some cash and you can sign it this weekend. So I told him no. I took the paperwork just to keep it as a record. And I had the paperwork for the easement. Then he was trying to get me to sign for the windows again. Or even doing when the last meeting was Tuesday, he texted me up to 7:38, telling me, well, they might approve the, I guess it was a letter of permission that he told me, well, everybody else didn't sign. Why won't you sign? What's the problem? Because you're the only neighbor that didn't sign, and you're the only one getting $2,500. Then he turned around and texted me at 7:38 saying that the meeting began, and if they pass this bill, we won't need you, and you won't get any money. So then Brown was going to cash at me $2,500, and he was going to bring me some cash. This has just been upsetting to me and my mother because we try and protect that property. They're trying to steal it. Between Stefan and Brian, they both are in on it. I heard Brian on the Tuesday night meeting when Ms. Keisha asked him, did you offer Antonio money for easement? And he stuttered. So, you know, this is what we've been going through.
So could I have one of, I know easements are kind of a legal thing. Could I have one of the architects explain to us exactly, just for my benefit, what exactly is an easement and what is it not? What does an easement give somebody?
Do
You want to go for it, Marshall?
Sure. Essentially, again, it's a legal agreement. It's not you're not selling the land. You still own the land. It's still yours. But an easement's an agreement for a type of use, or an agreement not to use, depending on how it's written. So that, you know, you will see public utility easements go through private property on occasion, which basically says, you know, there are public utilities below this piece of land, and it's written into it. An easement is typically written in, or maybe always written into the deed, and it basically says you can or can't use a property for this or that use for this amount of time. Sometimes as long as these public utilities or whatever are going through it. In this case, it has to do with the at-risk windows that Kevin mentioned at the beginning. Essentially, what they're trying to accomplish is having the easement. In this case, I haven't seen it, so I don't know what they've written down, but they're trying to restrict the use of that land. You would still own it, but restrict the use, so that the at-risk windows wouldn't be at risk, because you wouldn't be able to build something right against it. So that's, I don't know if that was,
No, I think
again,
that,
I'm not a lawyer, but that's
this
kind of a summary.
But sir, with this easement he was asking, our driveway is right there.
Right.
Okay, now he's telling me for $5,000, I can't build nothing on that spot. When you done moved your land away to the end of your land, now you're gonna tell me what to do on my side.
Right. And you're under no obligation to accept the easement. It's an agreement between you guys. And if you guys don't come to an agreement, you're under no obligation to accept it. It's something he's asking for.
and you know, my feeling is, if you were to sign that, and again, we haven't seen this, and Mr. Jones, and you know, and we don't want to, you know, if you want, we can send it to you and we can give you an informal opinion, but it's not, you know, it's not a legal opinion. You may need to speak with, I mean, I would never sign any legal document ever without having a lawyer look at it. And I would
Well,
give you
it got so bad, sir. I got in contact with the lawyer name was Mr. Bianca, and he gave me advice. I talked to him about a month ago.
Yep.
And he told me that was ridiculous. You don't have to sign anything.
Yep.
So I was at least trying to see what my legal rights were through them, because I mean, this is my first time dealing with an ANC or anything like that. And the way these people have been coming at me, it's like, I'm a poor black person on the first of the month. You gonna offer me some money and I post a job. You know, then you're gonna tell me I can't do this, I can't do that. And the way you're going about it has been all wrong, sir.
It was incredibly, you know, and just for full disclosure, I did speak with Mr. Jones on the phone at 6:45 today, a little earlier, and I was pretty shocked. And I asked him, like, I asked him to please call into this meeting because I wanted him to tell the story, because it does sound, just from what I'm hearing, and of course I haven't gotten the other side of it yet, and we haven't, but like, it does sound like someone is trying to take advantage of you, Mr. Jones.
They are trying to take advantage of me, sir. If me and my mother wanted to sell that lot, we could do that for $500,000. I could build her a house right there for $5,000. And you think you're doing something for me? Then you're going $2,500. I'm going to cash app you. What kind of businessman does a cash app?
Right.
So can I also add that I got a call from Mr. Jones and his mother, Miss Carla, and I hadn't spoken with her for some time, so she called me really in angst, wondering what could be done because they'd heard this meeting was taking place. And I think Mr. Jones had gotten a text message from the developer or during the meetings. And, I think he indicated that they were about to vote on it. So he didn't think that he would need his support anyway, and he wasn't going to get any money. So I didn't know I didn't know the item was on the agenda. So I just went ahead and signed in, and I know that they seemed, Mr. Jones and his mother seemed really stressed out, but what I impressed upon them was that I would bring this to the subcommittee and find out, what could they do at this point. So, we have gotten them to postpone the meeting. But in terms of the special exceptions that they're requesting for, so I know that there are 3. What can they do? Like if they do not have the support and they have opposition from the adjacent neighbor, what can be done at this point? Like,
So
I know that it's always best to, write whatever your opposition is based on the regulations and how that could be an imposition to the adjacent neighbor in terms of privacy, light, space, so I'm just wondering in what ways can we assist him?
Well, and to be clear, even if we opposed and BZA granted it anyway and they built it and there was no easement, it wouldn't affect, it would just be there. Those windows would be at risk, and the risk would be to the project that's being built, not to Mr. Jones. So the only thing that I can see that you potentially have to lose, if you care about it at all, would be any cash that they give you for that easement. Because if they do, they can do. The reason that we suggested that they speak to you about an easement was to minimize their risk in the future, not because it will affect you if they take that risk.
yeah,
Okay. So
they can build that project as is, and I've seen cases go before the BZA where there was at-risk windows, and we asked them, hey, are you going to get an easement? And they never did. That really didn't seem to be a factor, and the BZA voted to approve that project. My gut tells me the BZA would most likely approve this project. There are 2 family-sized units. The BZA probably won't care that there are at-risk windows on here. My concern is, Mr. Jones, let's say you decide to build a house there, and let's say the new neighbors who move in next door could be wonderful people, and they might buy 3-bedroom condos next to you, not knowing that they're buying a place with at-risk windows. And then you come to build a house, and next thing you know, you're about to brick up their windows. Those people who knew nothing about what's happening right now could be justifiably very upset. And they could be like, my preference would be if they had come up with a design that didn't require at-risk windows, because it just creates a lot of in the future heartache.
yeah, but what about my problem?
In no way, Mr. Jones.
Going up? That's all these windows, and you looking right into my house.
I will say there is no.
If you're looking at the picture right now,
Yep.
you see how the shade is blocked off, and that's because of the house before them. Now, once they go up 3 stories and put on a party deck, we're not getting enough sun at all to the back. None.
I'm going to just rotate this so it's north facing. So this is the south here. So basically sunrise is over here. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse on the screen, and throughout the daytime, I'm not sure what time this photograph was taken, but yeah, this would, you would have less,
the backyard would be pitch black. Where my mother sits out when she come out on the screen, it would be pitch black.
Well,
a little bit of sun now, and from the side of the yard, I mean, we're not gonna have anything, and all these flowers and trees she didn't put up, they're gonna die. That's not fair. Because he want to come to the property line, which I thought you had to stay within 5 feet of any building.
But and that's one of the exceptions he's asking for, and that's again certainly the subcommittee, the ANC can give an opinion. The subcommittee doesn't give an opinion, but the ANC can give an opinion. But it comes down to the BZA whether or not they want to approve that exception, because it is an exception. By right, he can't come to the property line. He needs that 5 feet, but that's the exception he's asking the BZA for.
It's
Okay,
one.
well, my driveway is right there, and I work on my cars and I work on my vehicles. So if he does that, they're gonna be hearing me working on. I could look up in their window and have a cup of coffee with me.
You and Mr. Jones, you can and you also have the right. I mean, in a row house neighborhood, we have development because people do have the right. There are certain things the zoning regulations allow everybody to do as a matter of right. So you know, they can build to, if they receive zoning relief, they can build up to the property line. But if you do not sign an easement or come into an agreement with them, you are always legally entitled to build whatever you want or sell that lot to another developer for $500,000, and they can build up to that property line. You know, they're proposing at-risk windows. You know, you haven't, because you haven't signed anything, and just to be very clear, I think you should, if you haven't already put it in writing in an email, I would draft up something very serious and making sure it's unclear you have not accepted and have no intention to accept anything right now. And but you know, I think it's possible. I'm just giving you my feeling is I think the BZA might, you know, they could approve this, but in spite of the fact that they're at-risk windows. Now, just stepping back, so you know, the BZA process, it's when this application first went in, sometime I'm guessing this spring, I can look at the zoning case record, all neighbors within 200 feet would have received a letter in the mail. Let's see when that went out, about sometime back in early July. And of course, you know, it's the summer of the pandemic here, so a lot of people aren't paying attention, but it goes out to all neighbors within 200 feet. And so at the time you could have, but it's, you know, the BZA is a very esoteric process and it's very hard for most folks who haven't been through it before to understand. But typically when something is happening adjoining your house, you can file for to become what's called a party to the case. And that way, if you are then entitled, all of the parties could then speak in front of the BZA for up to an hour. We can assist you, and I can give you the details offline. Even though you've missed the deadline, the BZA is generally understanding of the fact that a lot of neighbors, you know, aren't land use attorneys and are not aware of this process. And we can help you file a motion to request party status in opposition, if that's the way you want to go. I think we probably want to have some phone calls first. If this developer does plan to ask you, but you know, we haven't seen them, you know, according to Commissioner Shropshire, they did state at the Tuesday ANC meeting they were going to postpone this. They haven't done anything since.
Well, they agreed during the meeting. So I don't know, but we wanted to take a vote just to, you know, indicate when we submit an ANC report that we were not in support of the request as is, and that we, you know, of course they have to request, or the BZA loves to see the applicant request to postpone it rather than the ANC.
Okay. So I think the next steps are we have to pay very close attention to the BZA case record. I mean, obviously, you know, people are working multiple projects, but if we don't see them submitting that request for postponement in a couple of days, we should assume that their intention is to go before the BZA and see if what they can get. And they might win. And I have seen that occur. And, you know, that's just their right. They can go before that. But in the meantime, Mr. Jones, I think you should write up your concerns, and I can help you. I can talk to you offline about like how you go through that process. How do you file a letter? I think it would be helpful for you as a neighbor to get party status. Because you're after the fact, they can actually oppose that. But regardless, all citizens are entitled to speak before the BZA for 3 minutes. You could write up a very detailed letter describing your side of the story, and then give a very quick summary. You'd be surprised what you can get off in 3 minutes. But in the meantime, you can submit a detailed letter expressing your concerns, and then it's up to the the zoning committee, like, we are generally supportive of development, but it should always be never at the detriment of long-term neighbors who've been here a long time. And it is upsetting to hear the events.
Don't you think some of these areas have been overdeveloped? Like this house? I mean, I've seen houses, condos, it's just been, but they go high, they wide, and just like this house, it's gonna be overdeveloped. So I'm not gonna be able to enjoy my land the way I used to with nothing. You see?
There's definitely debates to be gotten into about the zoning regulations. There's a lot of people feel that, like, if we could build more, if we can get more family-sized units in the city, then that will address some of the scarcity issues that will help affordability. But, I generally am supportive of projects when there are family-sized units coming out of it. But there's no excuse for trying to scare and intimidate neighbors into signing away, because if you did sign an easement, and by the way, like, the easement.
No, I didn't. I never will.
Yeah. So I don't. We do have another item on the agenda. It's not this important, but it's not nowhere near as important as this. So, Mr. Jones, I can follow up with you offline to help you submit, at least talk you through the process of filing the paperwork. The good news is you haven't signed anything.
No, I won't.
You have. You still retain the full rights, either you yourself or an heir, or if you could just sell it yourself. This lot here, even though right now it's your driveway, that could easily become, multiple units. That could be developed. Yes, it's a beautiful side yard right now, and it's your driveway, but there is value. There is a lot of value in that land in and of itself. So.
Can I also say one thing, Kevin? When at the end of the ANC meeting, we did say that I offered for them to, have additional conversations with Mr. Jones and his mom. And I offered to facilitate those conversations. So
great.
The developer, Brian, did say he was willing to do that and that he would be reaching out to me, but he hasn't reached out yet. So I just want to at least let the subcommittee know that. So.
Oh, thank you. So, the good news, Mr. Jones, is that you didn't sign anything. You still retain the rights, even if the Board of Zoning approves this project and they move ahead and they build exactly what they proposed. It never stops you. You still have the rights of a property owner, and you can sell the property, or you can develop it yourself. Or you can just leave it as is. But those windows would be at-risk windows, and at any time you can build up.
Okay.
Would it be helpful, Kevin, when you are working with Tony, I don't know if it would even be helpful for him to, I know he indicated he had issues with maybe the shadow or the lighting, to include that in some of his concerns, even though it may not even matter given what they're requesting.
Well, there is issues about not unduly impacting the light, air, and privacy of in backyards. Because their rear addition is only 10 feet, that's actually fairly reasonable. A lot of what they're doing is actually, from what I've seen in previous BZA cases, it seems a relatively reasonable request. To me, the only issue with this whole project is the fact that they have a lot of at-risk windows on the property line.
Well, and I do think it is worth mentioning, even though they can add that story by right, because it is a unique layout for the lots, where typically if you had a series of row houses, your backyard wouldn't be impacted by a row house going up higher because you're in line with it. Your backyard's in line with their backyard, not with their house. Here, because of the angle of the house, it's a bit different of a condition. So while the BZA may or may not take it, into consideration when they're looking at it, it's probably still worth putting in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that when I took a look at the special exceptions that they were asking for, it was one of those items was, oh, it's not going to adversely impact the neighbor's life, privacy, but that's not true. It will.
And that's part of what these special exceptions are based on. And even though the exceptions they're asking for aren't what are adversely impacting them, the project in general is. So again, you never know with the BZA how they're going to interpret it, but I think it's certainly worth putting all those points out there.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, I sent the pictures on the back half of the yard. We have a blocked off gate, and we have a fence running down the back of the property line. They're going to be butting up against that fence. I mean, butting. They're coming all the way back.
Well, they are allowed. Everyone is allowed to develop up to their property line. I mean, that just like you can develop up to your property line.
Yeah, but I didn't see where developers that came in and tore people property down and told them that when they finish, they'll put it back up.
So there are things where if you have an old fence that happens to be built 6 inches into their property line, and that's very
sir,
common.
on my side.
No,
I gave them 2 feet.
No, we gave them, no, the
No.
fence is up, it's a wooden fence, it's not old.
It's not old, and it's on. We gave them what, 1 foot, 2 feet.
Yeah, I think it's.
We came over this way 2 feet.
I mean,
So, no, it's not on this side.
Yeah.
But the way they're asking, the way that property line running, it's not just that driveway. That house is going all the way back to the back, plus a stairwell and a party deck on top. So the room back there too.
so
It's not about that driveway.
ultimately, every project, there's always a survey as part of it. And they're not just going to go, even if your fence is currently, a foot inside your own property line, they're not allowed to build on your property, and a survey will be done. It's required as part of DCRA's permitting process.
Well, I understand that, but I didn't see people, fences get tore down. I haven't seen a lot, and I know you have too, in the commission. And I'm not, just don't want this to turn into one of them.
There are things that we can do with them. Even if you don't get an easement, there are other things that you could work together and collaborate with the developer. And there's things we can do. There's construction management agreements you can write with them. Sometimes they might be an old fence or something that doesn't work well with their project, and maybe they want to replace it. It's very common for developers to actually take down old fences and put up something much nicer and newer, because it benefits both parties, so they don't mind doing that.
Andrew,
I have too much stuff in that back. I have a carport. We have our yard set up. We don't need our fence destroyed. It's not that old. It's only what, 8 years old. Plus, another question is, damn, I forgot.
well, they don't have the right to destroy your fence. So and Andrew, I was going to ask if you recalled, and I can't quite remember, is it when you get the building permit that you need to send out a letter to the neighbors as well on anything that you might impact during construction?
Yeah, what about that? If they come into this property line where my cars are parked, what kind of safety do I have for my vehicles in the yard, as far as trash coming in, debris from the house?
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe even the demo permit, I'm thinking.
Well,
Yeah.
There is, with all projects that occur on the property line, they will always have, they're required, DCRA requires a neighbor notification letter. You will nearly always see those because frequently when developers are doing a project, they're doing a dig down where they have to underpin the foundation. So, my guess is the other neighbor on the other side will want to be very involved. You actually, because you don't have a structure there, they can do all of this within their property line. But sometimes it's it makes their life easier for them to do siding. If they're pouring a foundation or doing block work, it's typically you have to go a few inches into the next person's property. It does behoove them to have a very good, positive relationship with the neighbor next door. It's a lot easier for them when they're doing the siding of their project.
Well, if they come over 1 inch, they're gonna tear it all down.
Well, and they can't, legally, they can't destroy your fence, and they can't really even legally come and work on your side of the property like that. I mean, it's trespassing if you don't want them there.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, they don't have the right to work from your property or destroy your fence or move your fence without your permission at all.
So yeah,
Go ahead.
I completely agree, which is why generally when development occurs, they usually bend over backwards to be very nice and polite to you because it would make their life.
I haven't been in the picture.
Well, that's true, but this man has lied.
Yeah, and that's.
Hold on, my mother likes to speak.
No worries.
I understand everything you're saying. And between the two partners, we here and the developer, we have to establish a certain amount of trust. And he is a liar. I don't trust him. I really don't. And, if it was someone else we could go through or talk to, I'd be fine with that. But that Stefan, I do not trust.
And Brian.
Now, I have never talked to Brian that I know of. But if it was Stefan, no.
I completely agree that this needs to be continued conversations need to be built on trust. So I'm hopeful that Commissioner Shropshire's efforts to kind of bridge, there's definitely, no matter what happens, there needs to be some repairing of the trust, regardless of what happened in the past. It is very upsetting to hear what your description of the events. That is not, the vast majority of developers are very respectful, and most people usually, even though there's some temporary noise, are very happy when a place next door to them gets developed. This is not what we want to hear at all. So I definitely think we hear you and we're listening, and we're going.
I don't mean to cut you off. I know this might be off the topic, but these rats around here are beginning to show up in the daytime, up on my car, her car, broad daylight now. And once they get to tearing that building down, they're gonna be out here like crazy.
There, as part of the DCRA process, there is a step where they're supposed to do pest control, so that can be handled. There's two parts of a project. There are like the building permits have to do with codes, meeting building codes, and then there's the zoning review. And at a future step of this project, we can assist you with the building, giving you some advice through the building part of it. Right now, we need to be focused on the zoning, which is how do we ensure that you don't lose any rights to develop your property? That is your investment. There's a very, very high value. Whether you decide to leave that as a empty side yard, or you want to like develop it yourself in the future, or you want to sell it and invest, that's yours. We're here, and I should, emphasize all of the members on the zoning committee. We are all your neighbors. We are not anti-development. We generally are very pro-development, but never at the expense of you know, of our neighbors, you know, and to the detriment. It should always be a win-win-win, these developments. So we hear you. We're going to reach out to them to understand what's going on, and hopefully we can get to the bottom of this and, you know.
Well, hopefully Miss Keisha can help out. Maybe we can get something together, but right now it's cold in the water.
And if you're ever down this way, knock on the door. I'll show you what the problem is.
I will actually do it this weekend, Tony, if you don't mind. I'll
Okay.
text you afterwards. And I do want to, you know, we need to maintain social distance, and I'll wear my mask, but I do want to meet you face to face,
Okay,
mask to mask.
no problem.
So I'll continue to work with them, and I'll reach out to the developer. And Kevin, I think it'd be helpful if you could help Tony in terms of articulating like some of his concerns so that he can submit something into the record to demonstrate that he's not willing to ever sign for an easement.
Sure. Absolutely.
And his other concerns, so.
Yep. Okay. So with that, I do want to keep this meeting to an hour. So the second agenda item, and there is an upcoming BZA case. It is, let me do a screen share real quick here. If you can share this. It is a case at the corner of, let me see, how do I do this? It is at the corner of West Virginia and Neal Street. There is an existing house, and a developer is proposing, they're asking for zoning relief to build this much larger project here. I'm going to zoom in here. Oh, actually, my apologies. You were looking at the, let me see if I can share the plans. They have a, that should work.
Do you still need us, or you?
No. Well, you're more than welcome to attend and listen in. I mean, I'm going to try to make this real quick. I'm just giving folks a heads up. There's another BZA case for another project coming up. It hasn't been scheduled yet. It's not considered a complete application, but it's coming our way. They'll probably be on the BZA docket in December or January. But I just wanted to kind of give the zoning committee members here just a quick heads up that this is something that we'll have to look into. And I think what we should do is reach out to this developer and just invite them to come and present at the zoning committee meeting, or present at one of Keisha's single member district meetings or the ANC full meetings. You know, they've just applied. They haven't yet, you know, but they have applied for this. You can kind of, there's kind of see this. Are you seeing the zoom in on my plan here?
Yeah, we could see.
So there's an existing house, but there's a large yard here, and they're basically proposing to do a large side addition. And let me quickly zoom in. It's at the corner of Neal and West Virginia. And
Have they not been to the BZA? Have they not presented before? Because this property looks very familiar.
There's actually just one block north or 2 blocks north. There's another very similar project where they also applied for a side addition.
With the same kind of design on the corner.
Similar. Yeah. I think this is actually even bigger. I think that other project was a 3-unit. I did take a quick look at this, and they are proposing 4 units, which is surprising. But you know, there's a benefit there in that, or actually this, you know what, this might even be 5 units. Actually, I take it back. This is a proposed 5-unit development. And again, it's BZA case, let me see if I can find it, 20359. And their hearing date is scheduled for January 27th. So we have some time, but you know, time flies. So we need to reach out to them and have them come present before the community. And because the earlier we speak with them, the earlier we can, you know, express some concerns. After 4 units, 4 and above, they are required to provide 1 inclusionary zoning unit to the city, or pay into the IZ fund. my initial thoughts, and this is a very large project. It's going up, a typical rooftop penthouse. I think my preference would be, let me see if I can zoom in here. The inclusionary zoning unit is a one bedroom unit here. And then there's another unit, which is also, I think this is the first floor here, is another one bedroom unit. Then the rest, I think the cellar unit, which is on the right here, is a 3-bedroom. Most of the units are 3-bedroom. They're managing, the floor plan gets so large that they're managing to squeeze. The cellar is a 3-bedroom unit, 1, 2, 3. They've got 2 compact 1-bedroom units on this first floor. Then on the second and third, again, they're fitting in 3-bedroom units. My initial thought is I really wish they would combine, instead of offering this unit here to be these 2 small 1-bedroom units, that should be, they could, if they weren't providing 2 kitchens, 2 utility rooms, they could easily provide, this could be another family size unit, and that would be a family size inclusionary zoning unit. And even then, that's still them building 4 units in what is
in our cabin, it could be a 2-bedroom,
Yeah.
like a moderately sized 2-bedroom unit.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at the fact that all of the other floor plans and all the other floors, they're able to achieve 3-bedroom units because they want to get 5 units. I've never seen, in my time volunteering, I've never seen anyone try to go from a single unit to a 5-unit. That's a lot. Right. It seems a little unrealistic. There could be neighbors who might even object to this, even if we were to ask them just to do an interior reconfiguration change. But I didn't want to get it too ahead of ourselves. I think we need to reach out to them and invite them and come to present their project. And I just wanted to give the other zoning committee members and yourself, Keisha, a heads up on this project. We have some time later this weekend. I forget who the architect in this project is. We can reach out to them and just invite them to come to an ANC meeting or zoning meeting and just start the conversation.
Hey, Kevin,
yes.
by right is just 2 units, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
And they want to do 5. It's zoned RF1. So that is
there's a lot they're asking there. I mean, because there's parking issues, and I don't mind the mix, the 3 bedrooms with the 1 bedrooms, because it gives. I think you do need a unit mix, especially with Gallaudet being across the street, where it could be a student who rents one of those 1 bedrooms. But there's a lot to go to a 5-bedroom, or sorry, a 5-unit at that lot it'll be an interesting presentation.
Can you go to that elevation again? Oh, sorry.
Let's have a look. Is that the view?
Yeah.
Well, so this is just your demo plan. Let me see if I can quickly find. There was some good renderings in here somewhere. I think that's a good view.
There we go.
This is going to show you how, so it will,
how large, yeah. I don't see any parking.
There is a parking pad back here. They've got 2 parking spots.
Okay.
2 parking spots for 5 units, 3.
Yeah.
3 of which are 3 bedrooms.
And it looks like it's 4 levels.
It's a cellar plus 3 stories. I mean, RF1, they can go up 35 feet, matter of right. And then probably another 4 feet. They're doing an integrated parapet wall for the rooftop deck.
This is almost like not an RF1 anymore. This looks like a small really apartment building.
Yeah.
5 units, it's a lot. I anticipate some neighbor opposition here. So, it is a large massing of a building. It's not, however, that different from there is another project. It's literally just up. I think it's just up one more block. It's at the intersection of West Virginia.
There's a couple of them because West Virginia is at an angle and those streets don't hit it perpendicular. They're all oddly shaped, and they've all been recently redeveloped to sort of take advantage of that lot size.
But I think
I think it would be helpful for us to see like all the ones that have been developed along that corridor. Like, is this the plan that they're proposing? Is this like massively larger than the others? Because I know that we were involved in one of those because they had to come to us. But I also have a concern about allowing the one bedroom to be the IZ unit. Like, oftentimes, if that is an IZ or qualifying IZ unit, it could be something that a family could, like you were mentioning, Kevin, it could be expanded to a family size unit. I don't know how supportive the BZA, if they set a standard on not allowing only just the limited bedroom unit to be the IZ unit.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It is most common that when they're required to provide IZ units, it's always the smallest efficiency, one bedroom type place. Despite the massing, I think the community might be more supportive of a project like this if the IZ unit was a family size. It is a very large unit. We're also seeing they've got this penthouse that is going to even add more to the height. They've got HVAC units in the backyard, which, these four things are going to be quite loud. I would have preferred to have seen
Not a
these
fan of that.
on the roof, because this is going to make the backyard for their neighbor here not very desirable with 4 HVAC units. It's a lot of noise. There are some positives about this project, but I think there are some concerns and I think the sooner we start the conversation, have them come in, we need to knock on doors on the neighbors, make sure the neighbors are aware of this so that they can have their voice heard. So
I agree.
Yeah, so I don't want to keep folks too long. I'm already running 5 minutes over, but I just wanted to give you all a heads up that this is, they have a BZA hearing scheduled for mid-January. And so at minimum, we need to have them start coming. I don't think the ANC meets in December, but there is a meeting in November. Let me again just check their hearing. Their hearing date is January 27th. So there's at least 2 more ANC meetings. There's the November and the January meeting before this BZA hearing. And there's single member district and zoning committee meetings. So,
and I think this is in Clarence's ANC, since it's Neal Street.
It is actually, it is 5D06. It is at the border of 5D06, which is the vacant seat from
okay, it's further down.
So it is very likely that the developer has reached out and notified the 5D06 at anc.dc.gov email address, and those emails are just going into a black hole, which is why, that's why I try occasionally to just manually search the BZA case record to see are there projects coming in here, because if Jason, they would always notify the ANC rep, but if the ANC rep isn't, if Jason's not, he resigned.
They also notify the chairperson though.
Oh, true. So this is coming down the pike. We need to reach out to them. I can reach out to them regardless this weekend, just to invite them to a future. Keisha, yourself and Commissioner Lee, are you having a single member district, Trinidad?
I have not been having those. I mean, I could speak with Clarence and see if he'd like to.
Yeah, I mean, minimum we can invite him to the November zoning committee meeting. And at minimum, we'll do that. And
I think whenever we invite them, like if it's possible, because I know in the case they'll let us know who has been notified for the 200 feet, the neighbors within 200 feet. Maybe, at that point, I'd be willing to, reach out to some of the neighbors to find out what their concerns are too, because they should be able to hear what the project is consisting of at the same time.
according to their, I completely agree with you. According to the case exhibit, they haven't yet,
Notified the neighbors.
no, right now they've submitted everything through the color photographs, but then usually the next step is where the application is considered complete, and then they pay, and there's usually one of the exhibits is a receipt showing that they paid for the case to move forward. So they haven't gotten that far yet. And it's only when it is considered complete will it then become an official case. Like they've requested a January 27th, but actually the BZA actually has not assigned that date yet at all. This is not yet considered even a case. No neighbors have been notified, but we can be reach out to the neighbors. My experience is the earlier we communicate with them, the cheaper it is for them to make changes to design to get to that win-win design that that they're happy with, and the neighbors and the community. So anyway, look, I need to drop off. Thank you everybody for joining. Commissioner Shropshire, great to see you. And
You too.
I think Marshall might have just left us, but it was good seeing everybody.
And we'll be in touch, Tony, if you're still on the line.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right, cheers. Good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.